have debt, then you are not alone. You are like most households in America. And when we're thinking about, what is the best way for me to build wealth financially, then there's always this question of, should I invest or should I pay off my debt? Well, you are in luck today because that is the exact topic that we are going to discuss in this video. Hello again and welcome back to my channel. I am your girl, Dr. Brittany Helford, and on this channel, I love to educate you, specifically my sisters in healthcare, so that we can feel empowered, confident, and competent to control our finances and to have more joy and more wealth. And today we're going to talk about how to build wealth while having debt or paying it off. Either way is fine, and we're going to determine a few guidelines on how to make the best decision for you. Now, before we dive into the specifics, I do want to share my story. I am an internal medicine physician, and when I graduated from Northwestern Medical School, I had $131,000 of student loan debt. But good news, I paid off all of that debt and the interest, and now am student loan debt free because I have a mortgage. And there's always this juggling act of how should we invest and how should we pay off debt? And honestly, when I was paying off my student loan debt, I invested and paid off my debt simultaneously. And many individuals told me that that was actually not the best mode of action, that I should have paid off my debt all at once, more aggressively, and not invested while doing so, while others thought that maybe I should have leveraged a lower interest rate and invested the difference. Now, we're going to talk about what is the best strategy that works for you. And really, it is personalized. And this is what I love to do with my coaching clients, is to understand what brings them joy, what their financial priorities are, and how can we make those two align so that it still accomplishes that financial goal and creates financial independence. So picture this, you are an ICU critical care nurse and you are working so hard to provide just quality care for your patients. But when you come home, you're faced with the reality of credit card debt, of a mortgage payment, and of your student loans. And you have heard in some of your benefits talks about 401ks, 457Bs, 403Bs, Roth IRAs, and literally the question marks are swarming around your head, considering what is the best methodology for you. You hear your colleagues talk about how they're winning big in the stock market, but you also have the reality of seeing that interest rate on your student loans increase. Now, I get it. I was there, and the mental gymnastics and the emotional gymnastics that you have to do in order to reconcile your emotions and make a logical decision is not easy. But there are strategies that you can use in order to ease that burden. So in this video, we're going to break down the pros and the cons of paying off your debt versus investing, also a guideline of sorts on how to base that decision, and we will talk about the psychology of finances that will interplay in making this decision. One of the biggest advantages that paying off your debt affords is the financial freedom. When I have meetings with women who have debt, they feel as if they're weighed down or shackled. Literally, those are the words that they use. And you may also describe the weight of your debt similarly. To have the chains broken, to have that weight lifted, feels like you can fly. And to be honest, that's how it felt for me when I finally received that "Congratulations, you paid off all of your loans" letter in the mail. It was phenomenal, and it relieved so much of the anxiety that I had about how I was going to manage it all. Plus, paying off your debt means that you're not paying any more interest. When you think about the compounding interest that we have to pay, specifically for our debts, it can really make a difference on the long-term savings and investing and wealth strategy that you can create. Remember, the biggest return on your investment is one in which that is guaranteed. A guaranteed return on investment is paying off your debts. I know I just said that with great emphasis. However, paying off your debts may not be the best option. And I shared that a lot of people told me that I made the wrong decision to pay off my debt so aggressively. The reason why is because you need to consider the interest rates. You might be able to take a lower interest debt and invest the difference for a better return on investment in the stock market or in a real estate property, and therefore build more financial assets in the long run. Now, speaking of investing allows for you to grow your money over time and to make your money work for you. By putting your money in stocks and bonds and real estate, it allows your interest to earn interest on its interest and have compounding growth. And as women in healthcare, we spend so much time delaying gratification and working so hard to care for our patients that it's imperative that we have passive income growth in order to protect our energy, in order to protect our time, in order to have a little bit more joy because we've delayed gratification for so long. Still, investing comes with risk. It's not a guaranteed return on investment like paying off your debt. And the stock market can be volatile. And oftentimes the predicted returns on investments can be hypothetical because we don't actually know what the future stores for us. When we think about the COVID pandemic and what it meant for our energy and how it has impacted not only the economic climate here in America, but globally. Now we're in this environment of high inflation, and now we're in this environment of trying to mitigate and resolve that. And when you're investing, you are unclear on what the future environment and how it's going to impact those investments. It's a juggling or a balancing act of trying to understand the risk versus the benefits of doing one versus the other. Here's a critical guideline to remember, and it is the rule of 6. You will hear me talk about other rules in personal finances because there are a few of them, but this one I want you to hone in on 6%, okay? The rule of 6%, and I'm gonna break it down for you. Now, the rule of 6 is based upon 6% as far as an interest rate, because remember, I mentioned that investing is risky. And so if you have debt with an interest rate that is greater than 6%, then it is better return on your investment and to pay off that debt because it is considered a higher interest debt. And that gives you a guaranteed return on investment. When you think about the historical performance of the S&P 500, for example, typically it is quoted to return about an average of 7 to 10% annually. Now, if you have a debt that's higher than that 7 to 10%, then you definitely want to pay that off first. However, if your debt is lower, maybe a 5%, maybe a 3.5%, then it may be prudent to pay the minimum on that debt and invest the difference. Now, this is considering just the numerical calculations of the question of should I pay down debt versus should I invest? And it assumes a couple of things. The first assumption is that you have an emergency fund. If you watched any of my past videos, I always speak about the importance of having an emergency fund, because when you do not have an emergency fund and you have debt, then you're likely going to get either into more debt or be worse off because now you're unable to pay down your debts and therefore you have defaults, which are going to affect your credit report and your credit score and make you look like a more riskier borrower. It also assumes that you've captured any employer matches. When we think about employer matches, we say free money really is the benefit of you doing your job. And you want to capture that money because that is money that has the potential and is not defined by time and energy to compound growth and to work for you. And this is exactly why I invested and paid down debt at the same time, because I wanted to ensure that I had enough money when that debt was paid off, that I was not necessarily starting from zero or back to broke. It also assumes that the accounts that you're investing in are tax-deferred accounts, such as a 401k, a Roth IRA, a 403b, 457b, traditional IRA, accounts that are not going to have tax implications. And lastly, it assumes that your debt payoff is not tax deductible. Now, this comes into play when you're thinking about your student loans. And depending on how Congress has determined the tax implications of income limits that allow you to claim a certain amount of your student loan payments towards a tax deduction, you will need to look into the fine details of all of this in order to create a financial plan that's actually going to work for you and be most beneficial from a numerical perspective. But wait, here's where it gets interesting. So that critical number of 6%, right? Like in medicine, there's always a few caveats in which patients don't actually fit our typical script or patient model for that guideline. This depends on you. How aggressively are you going to invest? Considering your risk profile, you opt to invest your money in more conservative investments, then thinking about that 6% return on investment is not going to apply, because usually more conservative investments have lower returns. If you're going to choose to not invest that money aggressively, then you are unlikely to outperform or outpace the interest growth on your debts to make this worthwhile. Now, I've mentioned time and time again that this is like a logical approach to answering this question, but we all know that the decisions that we make with our money are not always logical. I mean, we are emotional creatures. There is a psychology of finance for a reason, and it doesn't consider your risk profile and your risk tolerance, which is innately unique to each of us. In healthcare, as women in healthcare, we know all about how our risky behaviors can impact the outcomes of our health. And that same pathway and analogy applies to your finances. If you have a higher risk tolerance, that you're able to ride the wave, the roller coaster of the stock market, the volatility, then yeah, maybe investing in more aggressive stocks is the right option for you. And you should maybe hold off on the debt because it's not so bothersome for you. In evaluating your risk tolerance, you also have to consider that emergency fund, which was an assumption of the 6% guideline. Depending on where you fall, then you may opt to make one decision versus the other, but risk tolerance must be a consideration when finalizing your decision. And you have to think about the emotional response that you get to debt. Does it feel heavy? Does it cause you to feel anxious or depressed? Does it make you want to withdraw and not do anything? If that is the case, then you should probably pay off the debt more aggressively. But if you're not bothered by the debt, if you're not going to be bothered by potentially losing money in the stock market, then investing may be a better option for you. Or you can be like me and figure out a way that you can do both and find a zone of comfort in doing both. There's no one size fits all when it comes to considering investing or paying off your debt. The decision is unique to you, but I would encourage you to take some time to actually invest energy in educating yourself on how to create the appropriate financial plan that allows you to take advantage of the tax benefits, allows you to really leverage the growth of interest on the investments or the decrease of interest in your debt, and focuses on who you are, your risk tolerance, the psychology of how you feel about your money, how you feel about investing, and gives you the most joy. How I like to do this with my clients is really getting to know them and to create a personalized, tailored plan while also providing an environment that they can ask questions, that we can not only teach you what to do, but how to think and how to pivot when the economy changes, when the climate changes, or maybe your just life changes, like you have a baby, like I did. If you're a woman in healthcare and you're looking for another woman in healthcare who knows what to do because she's been there and traveled that journey, then hello, I am your girl and I am your financial coach. What I want you to do is to hit the subscribe button so you can get more videos like this. Give this video a thumbs up. And if you're ready to dedicate some time, energy, and yes, a little bit of money to get really strategic about your financial plan, about your financial acumen, so that you have all of the financial assets to pass down to your children, then I want you to click the link in the description box and schedule a call with me so that we can get to know each other and see if my coaching programs might align with your financial goals and how we can bridge that gap to help you to get there. Well, I thank you for your time and thank you for taking care of your patients. I know that it is not easy work to do, and I just appreciate you. Feel free to share this video with a girlfriend in medicine so that we can spread the wealth through financial education. I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye. Oh, and if you want to hear like exactly what I did to pay down my debt, then just watch this video right here. Take care.